Fanatec has completely dominated the sim racing hardware market in recent years. Having reviewed almost 20 wheelbases since I started this channel, it's difficult to believe that this is my first Fanatec wheelbase I've ever reviewed. With all this perspective on the competition, how will the CSL DD fare in my hands? I'm Lawrence, welcome to the channel. Introduction. On the left you'll see all the sections in this video. I've put timestamped links to each section in the description below. While you're down there, please hit the thumbs up button to help YouTube suggest this video to others like you. 70% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified about upcoming reviews. By now, most of you know that Fanatec is incredible at marketing their products. This very product began life as an April Fool's joke, and upon release eclipsed the sales of its more powerful siblings and has even been preferred by some reviewers. You see, usually I never watch any reviews about a product that I'm likely to review in the future, but with the CSL DD it was unavoidable, both the good and the bad. All of the products in this review were sent to me free of charge for the purposes of this review, and nobody other than me has had a say in the content of this video. The links to this product and its competitors in the description are affiliate links, and if used, will earn this channel some money at no extra cost to you. First impressions. Receiving and unboxing these products felt very like when I bought something in the high street. Lovely simple boxes with cheesy slogans, well thought out packaging and nice shiny products. It was immediately clear that the quality of materials was nowhere near as good as some of its competitors. The Fanatec steering wheels creak and squeak in your hands when you squeeze and manipulate the grips. However, we'll cover it in more detail later. Fanatec doesn't have many competitors in this space. For the purposes of this review, I have focused on the 8Nm power supply. As standard, these wheelbases are 5Nm, and it seems that most people in the community just upgraded straight to the 8Nm as soon as they could. I loved the wheel rims. In fact, I was asked by Fanatec which products I'd like to review, and I specifically chose this wheelbase, the WRC rim, and the McLaren GT3 V2. And right from the get-go, it was a pretty damn good combo, to be honest. Price. The CSL DD wheelbase alone is currently €499. If you already have a CSL Elite wheelbase, it's a nice upgrade. However, if you still have a Fanatec Club Sport V2.5, I'd hold tough. I haven't reviewed the CSW 2.5 on my channel, but I have owned and used one for many hours. It's still a great wheelbase, so if you want a bargain, pick one up secondhand in your local classifieds. Anyways, I digress. I got the CSL DD Racing Wheel WRC version, which is on sale at €649. The WRC rim on its own is €199. There are sometimes offers available. Recently, Fanatec was selling the CSL DD with a rim and pedals for only €400. Keep an eye out for bargains, especially if you're not in a rush. The other rim I got is arguably the best value steering wheel in sim racing, the Fanatec McLaren GT3 V2 steering wheel. This thing has it all, and if you're on a budget, it's perfect. I even know people with DD1 and DD2 setups who still swear by this rim. Heck, I even know people who changed wheelbase manufacturers and USB converted their Fanatec McLaren rim just so they could keep using it. That's pretty telling. The McLaren rim comes in at only €199, so by today's prices you can pick up this whole bundle for just over €1,000. Of course, you still need pedals, and even though this isn't a pedals review, I highly recommend the Fanatec CSL Elite V2 pedals. They're only €299 and feature an elastomer stack that some pedal sets twice its price would be jealous of. Also worth noting that Fanatec were good enough to send me 2 of their metal QR1 quick releases, which I did use. These QR1s cost €100 each, which adds 33% cost to each wheel. However, thanks to Milex from our community, I got to experience the plastic QR Lite also. I'll cover how that went in a later section, but it's worth noting that my recommendation in this video is to save your money and just stick with the plastic Cuyar Lite. Installation. Hardware. Installation was relatively straightforward. There are 2 T-slot channels at the bottom of the base which accommodate custom oversized T-slot nuts. This makes it nice and easy to adjust your wheelbase forward and backwards. However, the T-slot nuts fall out really easily, so be careful. I didn't require any special mounting hardware, and I'm happy with the nice short form factor, which meant that I could get nice and close to my screens. However, the fins on the outside of the wheelbase make this device a lot taller and wider than some of its main competitors. Installing the quick releases on the steering wheels was a bit cumbersome, but not the end of the world. Personally, I prefer to receive the wheel with the Cuyar already attached, but given the various quick release options, I understand why this is the case. The button caps were easy to change and make it nice and intuitive for someone to change their button layout. I had no issues with the hardware whatsoever. Installation. Software. I installed the Fanatec control panel and was also advised to install Fanalab software. Needing 2 pieces of software was a bit of a drag, to be honest. It was hard to tell where one piece of software ended and the other one begun. Instantly I was met with firmware upgrades that were needed, so I followed the instructions. Both my base and wheel needed updating to the latest firmware, so I did a one-click all installation. I was met with very worrying times as my wheelbase and wheel rim stopped responding completely. There was a button to recover faulty device drivers and I clicked it with fingers crossed. Luckily, it did exactly what it was supposed to do and I was able to update the firmware of the base and the steering wheel separately. After that, when I hooked up the second wheel rim, it was plain sailing. So all in all, nice and easy software experience despite the apparent need for 2 pieces of software. You can save profiles in Fanalab, but you can't name them. That was a bit confusing as I bounced between sims. Maybe I was missing a trick. I'm sure someone will tell me how you name your profiles in the comments section. Shipping, RMA and returns. When a company makes hardware on this scale, there are bound to be plenty of stories and bad experiences. Luckily, it's not difficult to find lots of great stories too. While this is the first Fanatec wheelbase I've ever reviewed, it's not the first Fanatec product I've ever reviewed. In fact, both my Fanatec handbrake and Fanatec shifter both failed on me after I reviewed them. I bought mine secondhand and got some good mileage out of them, but I feel like I need to be completely transparent. I've not had any issues with this wheelbase though, and I believe that the general reliability of Fanatec hardware has improved over the years. I must stress that the materials are much more flimsy than all of Fanatec's competitors. The Moza, Simagic and Logitech hardware are all far superior when it comes to the quality of materials used. I'm mainly referring to the Cuyar and steering shaft, and I'll cover those in the next section. Finally, shipping from Fanatec is very expensive, especially for small items. I remember ordering a USB adapter for my shifter before and it cost me €27 to ship, even though the adapter costs less than that. Quick release. It seems like forever ago that Fanatec announced their Cuyar 2, and I was lucky enough to actually use it at the Sim Racing Expo last year. I'm not sure what the holdup is, but the only quick release options we have right now are decidedly average. The Cuyar Lite feels like a mod that someone made for a Logitech G923, and the Cuyar 1 is decent but still has lots of play in it, which in this day and age is not well accepted by the sim racing community. I'll put it out there that even though I used both quick releases intensively for this review, I didn't see any reason to justify the €100 per wheel upgrade to the Cuyar 1. It still exhibits a lot of flex, but honestly, it didn't affect me for driving. This was maybe down to the fact that this base has 8 Nm of torque, which, while plenty for an excellent force feedback experience, it's not enough to put either of these quick releases to the test. That's just my opinion, but honestly I expected to hate this Cuyar based on everything I've heard. The Cuyar Lite wasn't exactly quick, but it was functional. With the Cuyar 1 you get a little screw that reduces the play between the Cuyar and the shaft. I found that it made more of a difference with the WRC rim than it did with the GT3 rim, but I can only imagine after forking out €100 to upgrade my wheel how crap I'd feel needing to screw in a bolt with an Allen key every time I change wheels. If you don't ever change rims, it may not be an issue for you, But for me, the Cuyar light allowed me to forget about the bolt and just turn the collar to fasten the wheel to the base. In a blind test while driving normally, I wouldn't be able to tell you which Cuyar was installed on the wheel rim I was using. Perhaps a higher torque wheelbase, but not on an 8Nm CSL DD. Steering wheel options. There's no way I can cover all the Fanatec steering wheel options in this section. Firstly, I haven't reviewed them, but secondly, there are so many of them. I specifically chose the WRC rim and the McLaren V2 wheels because if I was in the market for a DD wheelbase, those two rims would give me everything I need and then some. They're really good value. Let's start with the WRC rim. Despite looking a little arcadey, it's a nice looking wheel with nice orange accents on the stitching and paddles. The buttons are basic but functional and plentiful. You do get a 5-way hat and it's in a great position. As I mentioned before, the materials aren't amazing. You can feel some creaking when you grab parts of the wheel, but while you're driving, creaking wasn't an issue for me. If you're in the market for a round rim and on a budget, I actually recommend this wheel quite highly, despite being realistic about your expectations. It's light and nimble, so the CSL DD can transmit every single detail. The 300mm size is plenty for all types of driving too. There's an LED rev light and gear speed indicator on the top of the wheel rim. This is really nice functionality. Instead of stickers, you get interchangeable button caps, which I actually quite like too. Sure, the quality isn't going to blow your mind, but I didn't have any issues with them during my weeks of using these products. Last but not least, the McLaren GT3 V2 is a great piece of kit. Again, the quality of the materials isn't amazing, but you get a pseudo carbon fiber effect on the face and some buttons in several shapes and sizes. The two larger N and P buttons are significantly heavier to press and protected by a plastic collar, which makes them perfect for things you don't want to accidentally press, like your pit limiter or ignition. The smaller buttons are replaceable. Rather than attaching stickers, the whole cap is replaceable, which is really cool and leads to a high quality end product. At first I didn't know what these dots on the front of the faceplate were, but a community member highlighted that they're for easy sticker placement, which again is a pretty nice addition. But the functionality goes far beyond the basics here. There is a full 7-way hat, but it's a little low on the wheel, so you need to adjust your grip to access it. There are toggle switches too, which are ideal for lights and wipers. Again, let me remind you that this is a €200 steering wheel. There's no way they're making money on this, surely. There are two functional rotaries on the front plate and a third to switch between various clutch paddle modes. Yep, that's right, this thing has clutch paddles. They work great. If you've never experienced a clutch paddled launch, you're missing out. This entire wheel rim costs less than some high-end wheels charge for the paddles alone. That's crazy good value. Finally, the lightweight shifter paddles are a single piece, meaning you can grab a drink on the straight and still shift up and down with either hand. The shifts actually feel really nice and aren't too loud. The ergonomics of the grips are decent, but I prefer for them to be a bit more chunky. At 300mm, this wheel is a great size for GT3 and Formula driving. There's even a little screen on it to show you the gear you're in and the speed you're going. It's really rich in functionality. I could talk about this wheel all day long, but let me leave you with this. If you're in the market for a CSL DD, you'd be mad not to buy this steering wheel. I would go as far as to say that if Fanatec released a higher quality version of this exact wheel, they would easily charge twice as much and people would queue up to buy them. Force feedback. Force feedback was surprisingly good. I get to use wheels with all levels of power, so this is one of the lower power DD wheelbases that I've reviewed. With that, there were some details that lacked, but none that affected my driving adversely. I was more than happy with the force feedback. If I didn't have additional wheelbases to review, I would have kept it on the rig for a bit longer. It's a great all-rounder and it performed really well in every sim I threw at it. The force feedback clarity comes in part by the lightweight and smaller diameter wheels, but I also think that Fanatec have done quite a good job in interpreting what the sims are trying to tell us. I wasn't around for the earlier firmware versions, but when I expressed my delight with the force feedback of the CSL DD, community members told me that their firmware updates over the past 2 years have made it a completely different beast. Final thought. That's a lot to digest. While on one hand I have quality concerns and these products don't feel as rewarding to touch as some of their competitors, they come to life when you use them, and all the things that people love to complain about kind of becomes a little less important. I'm used to high-end equipment, but there's some functionality like the LEDs and screens that you just don't get with the competition. But therein lies my concern. While this product is great in its own right, I'm worried about Fanatec. I'm worried about their lack of stock. I'm worried about their delayed releases of products like the BMW and Bentley rims and the infamous QR2. Fanatec feels a little stale right now, and it would be a shame for them to fall from grace. They need to crank out a 12Nm and 18Nm versions of the CSL DD as soon as possible with a hardcore quick release. I think that the force feedback that I experienced lacks nothing other than power. It seems such a simple prospect for Fanatec to fulfill. If you are in the market for your first direct drive wheelbase and considering Fanatec, I recommend this wheelbase without any hesitation. There's plenty of power in the 8Nm version and the wheel rims are affordable and feature rich. For console owners, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's much better value than the Logitech or Thrustmaster offerings. I do lack console experience these days, so I didn't cover that aspect in this video. If you'd like to know more about console compatibility, I highly recommend watching Boosted Media's highly informative videos that go into more detail about compatibility. Should you decide to buy this product, I've included links in the description which, when used, earn some money for this channel. There's no obligation to do so, but your support is appreciated immensely. Details about other companies with similar benefits are also listed. I'm Lawrence, I stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 PM UK and Irish time. Thanks again to Fanatec for making this review possible, and to you for taking the time to watch, hit the thumbs up and comment with your experiences and opinions. I'm Lawrence, and I'll chat to you later.